And good morning, everyone. It's been a crazy weekend here. Of course, I had Traders Village over the weekend. And of course, it was beautiful weather, a little bit windy, but overall pretty good. Then Monday, great day, nice, sunny. And then, of course, today it starts to rain. Welcome to Houston weather. And of course, the sinuses are starting to kick in a little bit for me right now. So so hopefully everybody else is having a great week. I know it's Tuesday, so it's pretty much halfway over, pretty much. So happy about that. We are here today, though, with Randi-Lee, and she writes books basically about herself. So let's go a little bit into about that and why you started writing these books.
Sure. So hi, everybody, and thanks for having me on the show. Mm-hmm. Our weather is not much better up here, so I don't know if that makes you feel better or worse, but it's not that much better. So I started writing as a kid. I actually used to write this little house newspaper and make my mom read it all about what was happening and what she was cooking for dinner. I'm sure she was really excited to read it. And then eventually switched to a little more literate type of thing. So as a teenager, I did a lot of poetry, which ended up becoming my first book in 2017. And then since then, I've written whole bunches of things.
Well, about how many books do you think you've written?
Over 10, because I write a bunch of kids' books too, in between all the nonfiction, because it gets heavy. So I gotta lighten it up.
And just curious, so we can post this in a little bit, where can they find these books at?
So they're all available on Amazon, but if you go to my website, rbwriting.ca, you'll be able to find all the different books and links there too.
And what was your inspiration for writing? What got you started?
Depression.
Oh, there we go.
Which is why I write a lot about mental illness and the awareness around that. So as a kid, writing my house newspaper, it wasn't that. That was just because it was really fun and I like doing stuff like that. But as a teenager, writing the poetry helped me cope with how I was feeling at the time, which was pretty depressed. And then in 2017, we were cleaning the basement out in the house, and I found all of those poems that I had written as a 14 to 16-year-old. I was like, wow, these aren't too bad. I don't want to throw them out, but they're just sitting in my basement collecting dust. And at that time, I was going through another round of depression. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to put them together. I'm publish a book. I always said I was going to publish a book, so then I'm just going to do it. And then I really, really liked doing it, so I kept going.
Now, with this, you've also done other things like kickboxing, and of course, I know you have your podcast, but did the kickboxing also help with the depression? Does it help clear the mind?
Very much so. So I mean, exercise is one of the biggest things people tell you to do. And that's all kickboxing is. It's exercise. I mean, it's a sport, you get to hit people, but it's exercise. So it releases your happy hormones and it makes you feel good. And for me, hitting something really helps feel good. And I always say you got to find the exercise that works for you. And that one was working for me.
Oh, that's always good. Now, another thing that I know a lot of people do or consider is like when they're depressed and they write poems, a lot of people see it as darkness in the poetry. Do you do more darkness or do you do the light side of it or?
Most of them are very dark. I write what I'm thinking, what I'm telling myself, what I'm thinking of doing to myself, which are not
Mm,
pleasant thoughts, but it's the action of writing them, getting them down on paper that makes me be like, oh, I don't have to do it anymore because I've written about it. So I think that's the same for a lot of people who do it. It's getting it out of the brain and onto paper. So they are pretty dark. Although I do try to end that my first book, the one that has all the poetry, I tried to end it with a couple of lighthearted poems because it's not all about the negativity. It's not all about the depression. It's about getting through the depression, and that life doesn't always have to be dark and gloomy.
so, in a sense, that energy is transferred from the thoughts to the paper. So that helps a lot of the coping aspect.
Yes, exactly.
Would you say that it could really help people? I mean,
Oh yeah. Along with exercise, I'm gonna say journaling or writing is like up there in the top like 5 coping strategies. Um, like on my show, I always ask people, what's your coping strategy? And exercise and journaling are always pretty much the top 2 that people say. So there's got to be something to it there. So yeah, and if you're journaling, like I don't like to journal per se, but my journaling is writing poetry. So journaling, it sounds like writing in a diary, but it doesn't have to be writing in a diary.
no, and I can actually see that a lot because I actually started writing to help me cope with my cancer, so to speak. So it helped me through my battle.
Oh,
So
there you
I can definitely see how that works.
Exactly. Yeah, that was it. Strangely, that was the only time that I really didn't write was when I had cancer. As strange as that is, I didn't. But I feel like there was a lot going on in my life at the time. Like I had cancer. My kid was also going through a lot with his autism and stuff. So I feel like maybe I just didn't have time to find a pen and paper to do it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's times when it is a struggle and it is hard to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
It's like I know I started the podcast, and this is actually another coping device, so that does help. And like you said, with the exercise, I do a lot of conventions and media there, and when I go to them, it's a lot of walking again,
Yeah.
and it helps relieve the stress and it gets it out of the body.
Exactly. That's why everyone should have a dog because you have to take it for a walk. Then you always have to go for a walk. And you have a dog. I mean, dogs are great.
We have 3 of them here.
Me too.
Oh God.
Well, because I mean, if you're gonna have one, it needs a friend, so you get 2. But I mean, if you're gonna have 2, you might as well have 3 because 3 is a pack.
Yes, but then you're going to have one that has to be the alpha of the pack.
No, no, no. I'm the alpha of my pack.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. They
That's
know.
another way to do it.
Yeah, they know who's boss.
Well, tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, so I actually have started a couple of them now. And so my main one, my baby, the first one I started, it's called The Write or Die Show. So write like you're writing something.
Hmm.
And I interview other authors and we talk about their mental health journeys because everybody's journey is a little bit different. So I've had people on the show. Depression, anxiety is probably the most common, but I've also had people on the show with anorexia, bipolar, borderline, schizophrenia. So all sorts of different people on the show, which is awesome. So we talk about their journey and then we talk about their coping strategies and obviously what they've written. But I always felt like the more we can talk about it and share, the more it can become not so taboo. And maybe, just maybe, one of the things from one of my guests is going to help somebody. So hopefully that's the goal. And because podcasting is so much fun, I do book reviews as well. So I was like, well, if I'm already writing the book review on my blog, I might as well podcast it too. So I started doing, and they're really short episodes. They're like 3 minutes long because they're just the quick little, Cliff's notes about the book. And so that's called What I'm Reading. So catchy, right? And then just more recently, a few months ago, I started another show where it's called Reader's Intrigue. And authors, they introduce themselves and they read the first chapter of their book. And hopefully that would then intrigue people to go and buy their book.
And now that's a thought. But question with that, because I know how people are on some of these podcasts, do you get a lot that struggle reading that first chapter?
So far, I have not, but I leave it up to them, right? So they don't have to come on and read if they don't want to. Maybe Write or Die Show is a better show for them because they can still promote their book. There are definitely some people who are better at reading than others, but so far we've had some pretty good reading.
Now the other thing is where can people find you at? Through social media?
Everywhere. I'm everywhere. So on Facebook, I'm RB Writing, and then YouTube or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts, you can find any of those. So the Write or Die Show, Reader's Intrigue, What I'm Reading. As well, I'm on Instagram, Randi-Lee Bowslaugh, TikTok, Randi-Lee Bowslaugh, and I'm now on Clapper. I posted 2 videos on Clapper. I'm not sure about it yet, but I'm there.
I've seen it, and it's still up in the air.
Exactly. I'm not sure. So I'm there, but not a lot of content.
Well, I think a lot of people are also nervous with the Congress with the banning of TikTok. So I think there's going to be a lot more of these popping up.
Well, and that's just it. And I mean, TikTok isn't banned here in Canada, but they're starting to put in. They're trying to get legislation passed where you have to be seeing more Canadian content on these things. And I mean, there are some good Canadian content creators. Don't get me wrong. I'm hopefully one of them. But I don't want to lose all my American or European or, around the world people. That's why social media is great, is because it's worldwide. So
yes,
we'll see how it goes.
It's like I met my illustrator, and they're from Australia. So it's
Right.
it really does need to be worldwide.
Yeah.
For sure.
I hope that this legislation doesn't go through because it's really going to hurt various creators. It'll also hurt Canadian content creators, not just the other ones for us to see, but I don't know. We'll see what the impacts are.
Now, you just had a book release last week.
Yeah.
And can you tell people about that book? And
Of course. So in between, I think I was saying this, in between all of the really heavy nonfiction stuff, I like to do kids' books. So I just finished, it's called Bun Bun and I, because the bunny rabbit that the stuffed bunny rabbit I had growing up, I named it Bun Bun. So the bunny's name is Bun Bun. And it's an interactive book. I really enjoy interactive books for kids because I feel like that's something I would have liked as a kid. So the one page is like full color. It's Bun Bun saying like, "Hi, my name is Bun Bun." And then the other page has like, "Hi, my name is," with a blank line. So the kid fills out their name and they draw a picture of themselves. And then the bunny goes through, I live here. I live with my parents. This is my best friend. These are the things I like to do. Here's my favorite food. And then each page, the kid gets to draw their story along with the rabbit.
Oh, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very nice. And people can get that on Amazon as well, or your website.
Both, yeah.
Any words of wisdom to people out there who might be wanting to start writing?
Just do it. Just jump in. Now I say that because a couple of different reasons. That's like my short version, right? Just jump in. My long version is you can't get better at something if you don't do it. Right? Just like kickboxing, I wasn't a national champion my first year. It took me many years of training before I got to that level. And it's the same with writing, right? The first few things that you write are not going to be the best of the best. We often don't, we have lots of things as writers that we don't publish because they're not great. So you have to just keep trying and keep going. And read a lot of other books. That's the thing. I'm a book reviewer, and so I've read really great stuff, some other stuff, and then some not so great stuff. And the thing is, no matter where on the spectrum that book lies, I always say there is an audience for everything, and it takes a lot of confidence to put it out there. So, I mean, you got to give people a chance and just try your best. Seek out help, do lots of research. There's oodles of like Facebook groups of writers and lots of free programs out there. But the best thing is just keep trying.
I totally agree with that. And I will say, my first book, it was 175,000 words. And after the editing process, it ended up being 101,000 words. So.
Yeah.
And don't be scared of the editing process.
Yeah. Be aware it's gonna, I always, when I send it to my editor, I'm always like, okay, be brutally honest. You know? Because I mean, I've already done a whole bunch of pass-throughs, but my worry for my stuff anyways, because it's nonfiction, I know my life. I know what I've lived. My worry is always that like I miss something and people are like, wait, how'd you go from, you know, this spot in your life to that spot in your life? I feel like you missed something. And so she catches all of that like, I think your audience might need to know about that, even though you assume they know because you know your story. I'm like, oh
yeah. That's so true. I never would have thought of that. But I'm more of the fantasy writer, not the historical writer.
Yeah, I've never done any fantasy stuff. I do have a collection of short horror stories. So because I love all things horror. Oh my goodness, I love horror. So I have a collection of short scary stories too. And they're definitely a very different beast when it comes to writing. Same with kids' books, right? Like it's also different. So when I was a teenager, I dabbled in fantasy. I never published this. I don't even know where the manuscript went. I had a typewriter at the time. And I plotted it out. I drew a map of the world. And I think I wrote like 2-3 chapters maybe. And then it just sat there. It's hard. It's pretty hard, I feel like, those books.
They can be difficult. I mean, you have a lot to choose from.
Yes.
And I mean an extreme lot.
Yeah. So I feel like that's a genre other people can write, and I'll just enjoy reading them.
But I do want to thank you for being on our show. And I want to thank everybody else for coming in and watching. And if you catch us on YouTube, click the subscribe button, click the little bell to watch us. And also, we are on Facebook. Join us there as well. And the other channels we are on is Twitch and LinkedIn. So watch us wherever. But until our next show, everyone, adio, and y'all have a great week.